All right, so we are still sort of without a chair because Dr. John Fricker, who was our previous chair, has retired. So I am trying to find someone to replace him. I've tried to contact JTRP. I have not been successful in getting a response, so I'm going to keep plugging away at that, and hopefully by next month we can at least figure out if they're going to be appointing someone new or if we need to, find a new chair for this committee or what in the world we need to do about that. So that's a quick update on that. So without having someone to run it, I can just go ahead and take us through the agenda. So the first item before we approve meeting minutes, West Lafayette would like to appoint Josh as a proxy. So in order to do that, we do need a motion and a second, and then we will vote on that. So I'd entertain a motion to appoint Josh Lee.
I make a motion that we appoint Josh Lee as proxy for West Lafayette.
Second.
All right, very good. We have a motion and a second. So we'll just go ahead and take a vote. All in favor of appointing Josh Lee as an official proxy, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, the motion carries. So Josh, you're now allowed to vote on anything else that we have today. Okay, so our first item then would be approval of the meeting minutes from the April 20th meeting. So hopefully you've had a chance to look at those. Are there any corrections or errors that anyone wants to note?
I'll move approval.
Okay, good. So we have a motion for approval from Stu
I'll second.
and a second from Scott. All right, so all in favor of approving the minutes from the April meeting, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, the motion carries. So our next item then is the access permits. So I believe we have something here to put up on the screen. Here we go. So Scott, do you want to go ahead and run us through these?
Yes. There's not been a lot of change from the previous meeting. I'll just walk down line by line. The Klondike Middle School permit, we are in the submission process going back and forth. So we've done our review, we've given it back to the permittee, and so that review process of the plans are going back and forth, but moving ahead. No complications or issues that I'm aware of. Love's Truck Stop. The only outstanding item was a request from us, NDOT, proof of ownership of the property. The developer is working on getting the paperwork to show that, and once that is in, that permit is ready to move forward for approval. Question? Yeah.
Yes. So this permit, that is includes the construction on State Road 25, right? The turn lanes and everything.
Yeah.
Have they, we've gotten permits for the drives and have had no problem with that off of 200.
Okay.
But now they're getting into the work on 200, the signal and everything, and part of our condition is that they have a permit from you for working your right-of-way.
Yep.
And their general contractor is not on your approved list. Have you gotten into this yet at all?
No.
They're out of
No.
Illinois.
Okay.
And so we were kind of kicking the can down the road that if they weren't on the Indiana approved list, that they'd get a permit from you first, and you'd figure out about pre-qualifying them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll chase that and we'll get back to you.
Yeah.
Okay. The remaining items are work that is ongoing, the Newman Roundabout, the work is completed. Inspection is, I don't know what the last items are for the inspection to make that complete. I know that it's in progress. I don't know of any complications. We're just trying to finalize that out. Speedway, no change, no work has begun as of early May. Anvil 38, no change. It appears it's the same comment and the same information that I know from the last one in progress. And the Jager Road project, that's really utility coordination that we're working on, which is with the intersection of Old 52 or Sagamore. And Domino's is approved. Any questions on the remaining items from anybody?
My only comment is that on Anvil 38, they are working on building 2.
Okay, so
Construction is ongoing.
that's active? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay,
All right.
that is all I have. Thank you.
All right, very good. So that should complete that item on the agenda. So our next item is an amendment to the TIP. This is an amendment for NDOT to update 10 projects. And we're going to have Doug go ahead and cover that request.
Good afternoon. As Tim mentioned, we have a TIP amendment, and this was requested by the NDOT Crawfordsville District Office. Currently, the amendment includes making changes to 10 projects that are already in the TIP. Some of them are just simply minor ones. For example, 6 of the projects, the phases are changing years from 2022 to 2023, 2024, or to 2026. Those projects are located on US 52 and I-65. Of course, since the fiscal years are changing, some of the funding information or amounts are changing as well. 2 projects, one on US 52, one on 65, a utility phase is being added. And then on State Road 225, the bridge over the Wabash River project, the scope is bridge rehabilitation or repair, and that is being changed to truss reconstruction or repair. And then also a right-of-way phase is being added, and the right-of-way phase is for fiscal year 2023. Finally, the last change is to an I-65 project. In the TIP, it is shown on County Road 100 West, the bridge over interstate, and actually the location is going to be changed to the County Road 500 West bridge over the interstate. The specific details for each project are listed in the staff report. Just wanted to give you a brief idea of what they involve. Are there any questions or comments? Well, staff is recommending approval to the policy board.
So moved.
So we do have a motion for that approval,
Second.
and we have a second. So unless there's any further discussion, we'll go ahead and take a vote on that. All right, all in favor of recommending approval of this amendment to the policy board, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. All right, the motion carries. Thank you, Doug.
Great, thank you.
Okay, so our next item is an update on the 2050 Metropolitan Transportation Plan. So we are getting very, very close to adoption of this plan. We're due for adoption in June. So with most of our plans, kind of what we like to do is have this board give a recommendation of what's in the plan to recommend that the policy board would adopt that. However, we still have not heard back from all of our planning partners, and we also are still in the public comment phase. So I think in this specific case, the more appropriate thing to do is to recommend approval pending those comments. So if those comments indicate that, any changes might need to be made to the plan before it gets adopted, then this body can recommend that those changes would be made, specifically from NDOT, Federal Highway, or FTA, if we hear anything from those folks. That would require some changes to what we've done. So other than that, like I said, we're kind of in the phase where we're gathering public comment. We do have the plan posted online. We posted some advertising as well, directing people to where they can look at the plan and where they can make comments. And we have set up an online comment form where we have received a few comments. Although I will say most of the comments are not necessarily about the content of the plan per se. They're more so about things like issues that people are seeing in their specific area, where they travel, work, live, whatever. So we're kind of tending to see more of those sorts of comments as opposed to comments about the plan directly, which realistically is sort of what we might expect to hear from citizens. I'm not sure that they would really necessarily have a ton to say about the plan itself. And we are going to be having a special meeting of our Citizens Participation Committee on June 2nd. Which we've also advertised, and at that meeting, we'll kind of give a presentation about some of the things that are in this plan, as well as be soliciting further public comment. That meeting will be here in this room, and we will be taking comments both from people who are attending in person, and we will be live streaming and recording it, so we will take comments from those places as well. So that's kind of going to be our last chance for the public to comment on this. We're trying to make sure that people at least have the opportunity to see this plan if they want to. So that's where we are with that. So before we do any sorts of motion, are there any questions about what I've said?
I'll add, NDOT does have comments, and the plan is to finalize those and share them with you by the end of this week. I think that's been coordinated with you a little bit. So we definitely want to work with you on that to have those comments addressed before adoption.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I had heard that from Bill Smith, so was anticipating that. So with that, I would entertain a motion to recommend adoption once some of these comments are sorted through.
So moved.
Second.
All right, we have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. All opposed, same sign. All right, the motion carries. Thank you. So then our next item would be an update on the Greater Lafayette Northern Connectivity Study. So that's something that's been going on for a while. We've been working with NDOT on this study, and we have recently received their existing conditions report. And so we're in the process of reviewing that. We as an office have looked it over and have some comments on it. So we are currently trying to set up a meeting with NDOT to go, and the consultant to go over those comments that we have on that. We have not been successful in nailing down a time yet. There are a lot of people that are involved and schedules are just not lining up very well. So it's going to take us a little bit to schedule this out. So we are working on that. We were working on that today, in fact. So hopefully we're getting close to setting up something where we can kind of have a discussion about this and continue to move the study forward. And then I think once the existing conditions report kind of gets a little more finalized, then we'll be looking at seeing if we can set up some, work with NDOT to set up some public meetings or what exactly the next steps are. I'm a little bit unfamiliar with the planning environmental linkages process that this project is using, so, trying to make sure that we get everything set up so that we can follow that appropriately is then the next step. So that's kind of where we're at with that. And were there any questions or maybe any comments from our staff that you'd like to add that I missed? Okay, I will take that as a no. So then our next item is some federal funding obligation. So Doug?
Good afternoon again. First, I'd like to apologize. Generally, we receive NDOT's central office report early in the month, but we did not. As a matter of fact, I took a week off to cut some wood and play with that, and it came in when I was off, so we were unable to actually put a report together. But when I did review it here earlier this week, there's no additional information that would have been added as of letting the Sagamore Parkway project. That time, all of our fiscal year 2022 federal funds have been obligated. Interestingly, not too long ago, about a couple weeks ago, we did receive the final fiscal year 2022 federal funding sharing agreement from central office. And I guess the good news is we received additional funds. So since we have additional funds, we don't have to have those obligated, of course, or unfortunately, however you look at it. By the end of this state fiscal year, we are allowed to obligate those up to September 30th. The amount was $316,999. In looking at it, I'm probably going to, of course, we're going to talk internally on how to do this, but I think my suggestion would be is to repay Stu back first for letting us borrow federal funds for the project from the Morehouse right-of-way phase. So it's a pinch more amount than what we borrowed, but if that's okay with you, that's where I'm thinking we should apply the balance of funds to go ahead and take care of those. In addition to that, we also received some news from NDOT Central Office, and this is fairly early. They normally don't send this, but they actually sent us obligation targets for not only fiscal year 2023, but also 2024, 25, and 26. Never, the 30-plus years I've been here, they've ever done this. The good news is that over the 4 years, our funding targets increase and increase substantially. For example, over the 4 years for our STBG funds, we have now $2.67 million more to program. For safety, over $800,000 to program. And get this, for transportation alternatives, a substantial increase, $1.18 million. So in essence, what in the past we were able to program roughly $230,000 a year, that doubled. We also have a new funding category called carbon reduction, which we're still trying to figure out what to do with those funds. But over the 4 years, the balance of new funds that are allocated that we can obligate is $5.13 million. So our plans are at our next tech meeting in June is to actually work with you guys and decide how we want to address just fiscal year 2023. Yes, we could do 24, 25, and 26, but since we're going to develop a new tip starting later this year in October, we felt that at this time just addressing the next fiscal year would be most important and a priority. So we're going to look at the projects, our program for 23. So I'll be getting with Jeremy, of course, and Stu and everyone else in terms of how that projects are programmed. Talk about numbers, what's the status of those projects, and then next month we will discuss how we want to allocate these funds and with what projects. So just to give you a heads up. So I guess next month, same bat time and bat channel. Any comments or questions?
Yeah, comment.
Yes.
That's good. Hopefully that'll make up for some of the inflation we're having on project. I just had a quick question. You said like 2.7 million in STBG. That's over 4 years, so it's about $500,000 a year?
Yes, in
over.
fiscal year 23, that would be $532,697. 24 would be $622,000 and change. 25, $714,000 and change. and 26, 807,000 and change. So,
And those are the ads.
yes. And that's just in the STBG, of course, especially in TA and safety. Safety, it's roughly $200,000 a year.
800 total, you said, right?
Yeah, $812,087. So, good news.
Yeah.
Maybe. As you're right, with inflation, probably eat it all away and then some.
If it keeps going at this rate, yeah.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, well, thank you.
All right, so then our next item is the NDOT 18-month letting list. So Doug, if you want to go ahead and cover that.
Sure, I'd be more than glad to. As you can see, the list is getting shorter and shorter now. Of course, Tim has up here the status of the Sagamore Parkway Trails project. Of course, we all know that was awarded, HIS Constructors, for $4,978,000, and it's a good to go. Looking back on the first page, you will notice that a lot of projects have a little C. Matter of fact, 8 of them actually have changed. I'll go over those. Projects 2 and 3, they were initially scheduled on a July bidding and now moved back several months. Of course, both are on US 231. And you'll notice also is that the September bid letting, that's when the next projects are coming up. So we're going to have a little dry spell here. Looking further down, I'd like to mention, of course, Project 8, Jager Road, still targeted for an October bid letting. And then Project 10, following month, Mccutcheon Pedestrian Safety Project. So that's great to see those keep progressing forward. Just right under those, the 3 projects, 2 on State Road 43 and 1 on State Road 225. They have moved. Of course, the first one on 43, Project 11, moved from a July bid letting to a December, and then the following 2, 12, and 13 just dropped 2 months. So not a big change. Then going down further, the last 3, Project 16, that did slip from a November 2022 bid letting to an April bid letting the following year. And I'm not too sure yet about these last 2. Generally, we don't see this big of a change, but they actually went from a June of 2022 bid letting to actually a July of 2025. So
I can speak to that a little bit.
excellent. Thank you.
So those projects were originally funded on what we were calling a special bench type funding program. And then with escalating costs, that special bench just went away. So those projects that were allocated toward that, what we thought was extra money is not there. So finding a new home where we thought we could afford the work is why they moved out so many years. So,
Well, thank you.
you're welcome.
Disappointing to hear that, though. But
Yeah.
it's reality.
It is. They're going to get done, and that's the good news.
Mhm.
So,
Any other questions or comments?
With the Sagamore Trail being let, do we know when construction is supposed to start on that one?
I have not heard of a specific date. Have you heard anything, Josh?
I believe that's due to scheduled to begin at the start of June. The city had their city match approved today and is overnighted to NDOT. So it should be set to start sometime in June. There's one water relocation that we're working with Indiana American on. That may delay a little bit, but that's unsure at this point.
Great, thank you. Help out?
Yep, I was just curious with everything else we have going on in the city.
Anything else? Oh, great, well, thank you.
All right, so then our next item would be the always popular, everyone's favorite, quarterly project review. So starting with Tippecanoe County, so our first project is the Klondike Road project. Just checking to see if the purchase orders have been closed out for this.
Yeah. It will be by next quarter. The NOT's in, we just had the deal with the contractor trying to scrape out a little extra money.
All right, very good. So we will look to see the closeout by next quarter. Thank you for the update, Stu. So our next project is Lindbergh Road. So we did not receive a report for this one. So was Lindbergh able to close out?
No, they just took it off the list, and then they reassigned it to me. The final construction record is in, but not approved yet. So.
Okay, so a little bit behind Klondike, but close as well.
It'll catch up. It'll probably pass.
All right, got it, thank you. So then our next project would be the North 9th Street Road Bridge. So we got some comments from you, Stu, about getting a revised schedule in order to kind of change around this project to a rehabilitation project. And so we were just wondering if we're anticipating having that new schedule by the next report, or do you think it'll still be in process, or what's the timeline for the new schedule?
It should be. I turned in the proposed schedule to the project manager, and it should be the next quarterly report. Should be a little more realistic.
Okay, and then that will probably impact some of these other milestones, specifically environmental and right-of-way, which are showing that they are, well, by now should be just about complete, but aren't.
Yeah, and the true issue that neither of those exist on it's a deck replacement.
Okay, good. That clears that up, thank you. So then our next project is River Road at 500 North. So we just noted on this one that there was a pretty significant increase in the utility cost, which is what caused the increase in the project cost. That happens sometimes, so we didn't have too much else to say about this one. Other than that, it looks like this is at least proceeding. Did you have any updates you wanted to give us, Stu?
No, they're getting close, and I was going to ask if who's doing the CSO project. Is there a contact?
I do not have that off the top of my head. I can email you
Okay.
that information after the meeting.
Yeah, because next week we start our 60-day closure at River Road. We're inside of those limits. It's just starts getting complicated now.
Right.
Anyway, yep. It's moving along. We're on schedule to be complete on time.
Good, thank you. So then our next project is Phase 1 of the Morehouse Road project. So didn't have too much to note on either this or the next one. There were some small changes in dollar amounts as we're still kind of trying to refine this from, a one-phase project to two phases. So,
Yep.
I don't know, do you have any comments about either this or Phase 2?
We're moving right along through the right-of-way as a combined project on the right-of-way. So we're on schedule.
All right, that's good. Glad to hear that. I know that right-of-way obviously can sometimes
Yeah, a lot of
be an
parcels.
issue, but glad to hear it's not for this project.
So far.
Fingers
Lot of
crossed,
parcels.
right?
A lot of parcels.
Okay, so that should cover those two projects, or those two phases of the project, really. So the next one would be the Jager Road reconstruction. So we noted that the right-of-way is pretty close to completion. It's listed as 90% complete, but it is supposed to be complete by this month. So is that going to be able to get wrapped up by this month, or?
The notice has gone to NDOT. We have one condemnation that they're aware of, so it will take, the process to clear the courts, but it's still right there with stage 3, so nobody has any problems with it. It's at the court. We're just waiting on the court-appointed appraisers.
So that may be delayed a little bit.
The project shouldn't be delayed. It's just
Right,
a clearing
just
right away.
that one
Yeah.
parcel. Okay. Got it. So then the next project would be the Mccutcheon Pedestrian Safety Project. So we have several notes here about the right-of-way and utilities and such. So we were just wondering about the cost estimates for this project. Are we anticipating seeing any increases in this? We did have a recent unfortunate experience, of course, with West Lafayette's project, so I think that's that's the motivation for our question. So I don't know, do you have any thoughts on that, Stu?
Yeah, our consultant has incredible confidence in this project, so
Okay,
we're
well,
moving ahead.
all right.
We did talk about that. I don't think it's Trail and Hawk, and I don't think we're really seeing this kind of escalations maybe that we are on other projects.
Okay, all right, well, hopefully we don't see
We don't.
those crazy inflation numbers. So then our next project is one of kind of these sister bridge projects, bridge number 64. So we noted that there had been a little bit of a change just in the report on some of the dates. It looks like they had been changed in the last quarterly report we received, but then in this one, they reverted back to the previous milestones. Is that correct, or?
No. They should both be updated for the 25 letting. So they're flipping back and forth. And this one is, yeah. Is this the one we had to switch the TIF?
Yeah.
TIP, I'm sorry. Right, moved to 25, the dates keep vacillating. And then there was some discussion about the dollar values going into the TIP because of the escalated construction costs. Yeah. So, yeah, it's kind of a report in flux. My understanding is there is money available. They're waiting for stage 3 to reallocate funds. Both, 64, 65.
Right, so yeah, then we basically had the same comments about 65, so I don't think we necessarily need to cover that since, they're companion projects and basically under the same sorts of considerations.
Yep.
Okay, so then covered 65 already as well, so we'll move on to the next bridge project, Bridge 527. So for this one, we are approaching the Stage 2 design and environmental report milestones. But they do still show 0% complete in the report. Do you anticipate that those milestones will be met, or might this project have to move?
They'll be met. We've had the review, they're incorporating the review into the stage 2.
So maybe it's more of just an issue of the report
Partial
itself?
report,
Yeah, okay.
We're going to jump right into like 90%.
Right. Got it. Okay. So then, starting kind of the next phase of bridge projects, some of the newer ones. So this is the first report that we got for this next project, bridge number 80. So not a lot of information, it's still pretty far out. So we didn't have any comments on that at this time. Is there anything you wanted to make us aware of?
No, we just 80 and 83 are going together, again, like 64 and 65. We are finalizing the selection process. Kathy wants all contracts in place by September, and that's not going to be a problem.
You said September for the selection
Well,
contract?
September for contracts.
Contract, right.
We'll be submitting our selection, final selection process this week.
Okay. Got it, thank you. So then that same thing will apply to 83 since, again, they're companion projects, much like 64 and 65. Right, okay. So I don't necessarily have to cover that one in more detail again. So then the last one that we have would be the county bridge inspections. So we did and did not receive a report for this. So it says we didn't receive a report. We technically did, but it was blank. So we know that it's in the system. We just didn't have any new information. So do you think we'll get some actual numbers filled in by the next quarter, or?
You should see, well, you're kind of in between the two reports. You saw the two reports. As long as there's no bridge falls down between now and September, there won't be any changes to the last contract. And then September is our compliance, so August, it'll be August before there's any action on the second contract. So you're kind of in that zone between.
Yeah, that's kind of what we thought, but just wanted to double check.
Yep.
All right, very good. Thank you. So then moving on to the city of Lafayette. So the Twickenham project, we haven't been anticipating that this one would be closed out. We did not receive a report, so we're kind of doing our customary check to just double check and make sure that everything has been closed out on this project.
Yes, it has.
All right, very good. Glad to hear that things went smoothly with that. So Park East, so this one is getting pretty close. So as Jeremy notes here, they have submitted this Form 639, and they are working on finalizing documentation and closing out the POs, all that good stuff. So we didn't have any comments on this. We know that these are things that happen, and we're close to the end of this one. So unless there's anything else you wanted to add, Jeremy, that you thought was relevant?
Nope.
All right. So it looks like that one's moving on pretty well. So glad to hear that. Concord Road trail lighting is the next project. So Jeremy notes that all POs have been closed out and that this will be the final quarterly report. That was actually the last one. So we did not receive a report for it. So again, we're assuming that that means this is closed out as well.
Yes.
Very good. And now for kind of the one where we have a lot of the action going on for you guys. So there are a lot of comments that Jeremy gave us here that were very helpful. And then in addition to the comments that we have listed here, Jeremy also has been in communication with us. He sent us an email kind of detailing more of the anticipated changes in the schedule and some of what's going on with that. So basically the upshot of it is that things are in such a state of flux that we're going to have to kind of wait for future reports to get some of those scheduling changes actually nailed down. We know that with kind of this historical status of the subdivision especially, that's going to create quite a potential change in the schedule.
Yes.
So.
Yeah, and right-of-way is currently scheduled for fiscal year 2023. That's not going to happen.
Right, yeah, and again, we know that a lot of the milestones are going to likely be moving back as a result of this.
Yeah.
And so we will continue to watch this for future reports, and, that happens. And when we get more information, then we'll continue to track this one. So that's all we have for Lafayette. So West Lafayette, the first one is the Soldiers Home Road Phase 1 project. So this project looks like it is moving along. Gotten some updates on this. Not too many major changes in terms of funding or schedule. So it looks like as of now things are pretty much going as they should. So we didn't have any comments on this. Is there anything else you wanted to bring to our attention, Josh?
I don't have anything additional.
All right, that is fine. So then our last project is kind of what Doug covered earlier with the Sagamore Parkway Trail. So we do know that that was let. So kind of our comments about this, we're just noting that since the last quarterly report cycle, that we did some of this moving around the money. We moved around some IIJA funds executed a funding trade, all that stuff. So we are just noting that here in this forum, since it hasn't, or wasn't discussed at the last time we did quarterly project tracking. But we are glad that this project did let. So that was some good news for sure. So we don't have anything else. I guess we got the additional update earlier about this project probably going in June for construction. So is there anything else that you think is relevant to tell us about regarding this project?
No, I don't think so.
All right, well, that should wrap up this item. So with that, that is kind of the last item on our agenda, but we do have, a chance for any other business if someone has something that we missed or they wanted to cover additionally. The floor is open. All right, I will take that as a sign that everyone has said what they needed to say about the different agenda items that we have. Then kind of our next thing would be some citizen comments. So we do have several citizens out in the audience. So if anyone has any comments, please feel free to go ahead and get up and all right. Well, it looks like we don't have any of those either. So with that, unless there are no further objections, we will seek a motion for adjournment.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
All right, thank you. We have a motion for adjournment
Second.
and a second. All right, so we have a motion and a second. So all those in favor of adjournment signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everyone, for your time, and we will see you next